Nov.13th, 2017. At this time, I call the City Council, City of Grantville, into open session. I'd like to welcome everyone here. Thank you for coming up. Mr. Mowry, could I call on you to lead us in the invocation, and then when he completes that, if you could all stand with me and join me in the pledge, I'd appreciate it.
Okay, everybody sings their Let's pray. Our gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for blessing our town, watching our work town, Father, we keep you safe. We pray, Father, for your presence to be felt even in this meeting, Father. We pray to you for guidance and come together in unity as we discuss the agenda, Father. We pray you bless the mayor, guide the mayor, the city council, our city attorney, our city manager, and bless each one that came this way tonight. Bless the families and their homes. We pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, before we consider approving the agenda, I have a recommendation that we move the discussion and decision on renaming LaGrange Street, Barbara Tucker Drive, to new business, and discuss it under that, and withdraw it from the old business. Hearing that, do I have a motion to approve the agenda as I recommend?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and I have a second. Do you have any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it, so ordered. Okay. Next order will be the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of October 9th, 2017. Have a motion to approve as published.
So moved.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any questions, discussions? Hearing none, all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, so ordered. Okay. Having changed that one thing, we have no old business. Under new business, we'll take the order that they're there, the announcement of the holiday schedule, Mr. Grantville.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and council members. The holiday schedule is as follows. The City Hall will be closed on Thursday, November the 23rd, and November 24th for Thanksgiving holidays. City Hall will be closed on Friday, December the 22nd, 2017, and Monday, December 25th, 2017, for the Christmas holidays.
Okay. Does that require any action by the council?
It does not, sir.
Okay. Next order would be the approval or disapproval of Christmas bonuses for employees in the amount of $500 for 1 year or more service, $250 for less than 1 year. That does require a motion.
Yes, sir. The money has been budgeted previously. It is included in the budget for this fiscal year.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved on approval.
Have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Have a motion, and second. Any questions or discussion?
Yes, Mr. Breshaver, how many employees do we have that will receive 500 versus the ones that would receive 250?
I believe, ma'am, there will be 32 full-time employees that will receive the $500. That includes the city manager, and 3 that will receive $250 for less than a year. They will be the 3 police officers, pardon me. I take that back. It'll be 31 for more than 1 year and 4, one in Public Works, Darren Daring, who's less than 1 year, and the 3 police officers.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Any more questions? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the Christmas bonuses, signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, so ordered. Next order of business, request permission to remove Alice Malcolm from the Historic Preservation Commission. I've done some checking on it. I don't know that that's something we can take action on tonight, and I would yield to the city attorney.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. I saw that you received an email from Ms. Berry, the chair of the Historic Preservation Commission, saying that they had taken action at their last meeting to request that Ms. Malcolm be removed from the commission, I think based upon failure to attend meetings. However, the bylaws of the Historic Preservation Commission say that the mayor and council may, upon receiving written charges and after a public hearing, shall remove members of the HPC for just cause, including but not limited to failure to attend 3 consecutive regular meetings of the commission. That bylaw is not exactly well written. It's not clear who conducts the public hearing, but clearly there is supposed to be a public hearing conducted by either the HPC or the city council. I don't believe the HPC has the authority to direct the city council what to do. So I would have to assume, therefore, that that public hearing would be held by the HPC, and I don't believe that has been done prior to this recommendation being forwarded to the council. So I think in order to comply with their own bylaws, they would be required to have a public hearing prior to making that recommendation.
Okay. So, should we just table that until they follow steps and bring
My recommendation is simply to report, to take no action and report back to them that they will need to hold a public hearing in order for this to be placed back on the agenda.
And does that require council vote?
There could be a motion to do that.
Do I have a motion to refer it back to the historic?
So moved.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
And second.
I have a motion and a second. Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, so ordered. Next order of business, Three Rivers Area Agency on Aging, fiscal year 2018-01 contract revision, authorization for the mayor to sign.
Yes, sir. We have received this contract revision from Three Rivers Area Agency on Aging. Basically, we get one of these each year when they finally get the final figures that come down through the state. So while it is sort of pro forma, it needs council approval for the mayor to sign.
Okay, I have a motion to authorize the mayor to sign the contract with Three Rivers 2018 through 2001.
So moved.
Have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Have a motion second, any questions? Hearing none, all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, so ordered. Next order of business be the approval of invoice from Mitchell Septic Service in the amount of $58,000 for removal of sludge from the land application system storage pond. Invoice is attached with the memorandum.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor and council members. I have put some pictures up there of the removal of the sludge. On February 24th, 2017, we reported a spill of approximately 10,000 gallons of partially treated wastewater at the College Street land application System Pond Number 1 to the Environmental Protection Division of the Georgia Department of Natural Resources. Sludge had accumulated in the land application storage holding pond to a depth that caused the intake screen for the land application system pump station to become clogged, preventing sufficient flow of water into the pump station wet well to be applied in the land application system. This condition caused an overflow of the holding pond, resulting in the violation. As part of the corrective actions from EPD, the city was required to remove the sludge from the land application storage pond and clean and repair the intake structure and associated equipment. Proposals were sought for the basin cleaning, including removal and disposal of the sludge, although the volume of the sludge can only be estimated at approximately 200 wet tons. This request for proposals was published in the Noonan Times Herald. The proposals received were from All South Environmental Services, Inc. for $69,266.40. Frank Peacock and Associates, Inc., their proposal was $70,400. And USI Environmental, Inc. bid $125,000. Based on the unknown quantity of sludge and the sludge disposal being on a unit rate cost, which means if they had more sludge, the price went up, we sought a less expensive method of cleaning the basin and disposing of the sludge. Basically, what we did it the old-fashioned way. We went into the pond, lowered the level of the pond, moved all the sludge toward the intake, and then pumped it out. We put it in the above holding pond, or what we call the polishing pond, or the sediment pond. So we didn't have to dispose of it off-site. We just took it up to the other pond, and basically it'll be run through the system again and diluted. It will be put on the land application system. Now, one of the other corrective actions we had to do is refurbish the pump station. We are at the point now that with the intake operational, we have saved over $13,000 because we don't have to get a decanter to help us remove the sludge. Our intake now is fully operational. In fact, it's so good, it overruns the pumps at times, so we have to schedule the pumps to wait till the wet well is fully filled to pump out the land application storage pond. So, basically, this was a combination of Mitchell Septic Services working with the Director of Public Works and Utilities and his employees. As you can see from some of the pictures, we got 2 of our employees out there helping out. Bottom line, we saved over $25,000 by doing it the old-fashioned way and not having to press the sludge. So, with 16 days of work, Mitchell Septic's bill was $58,000, and we recommend that we honor their invoice.
Okay, you heard the report of the city manager, the will of the council.
For the record, let me say I'm in no way affiliated with Mitchell Septic Service.
I'd make a motion for the approval of the invoice.
Okay, have a motion, have a second. second? Second. Have a motion and a second. Hearing any questions?
I have a couple of questions. Mr. City Manager, the $69,266.40 from All South Environmental Services, that would have taken the sludge off site and permanently removed it?
It would have pressed the site, pressed the sludge, and had to dispose of it in a Class D landfill, yes, sir.
Okay. Now, those items, we've dealt with some of the bidding proposals in the past, and normally those bids are submitted to the city council for approval or rejection. And it seems that we have just decided to reject all the bids and go ahead with another company without having bids come in for that?
Well, what we did, because the sludge could not be estimated, we started removing it the best way humanly possible. Frankly, we thought the bids were high with the unit rate of disposal and the sludge being unknown. We thought this was the more inexpensive way to do it.
But is inexpensive always best?
Pardon me?
It's rather a vague question. Is inexpensive always best? We don't know what type of toxins or anything else might be in that fill that we're now going to spread onto the landfill application system. We might have best off just get rid of it.
What happens, the sludge goes back into the polishing pond, the sediment pond, and then it's run through again. It is no different than if it stayed in the land application pond and was diluted. That's exactly what we did. We diluted the sludge. Now, if you're saying there's things in there, because we have no industry, we're very confident we don't have heavy metals. That's the problem with land application. You have heavy metals and nitrates. And because we have residential disposal, the chance of heavy metals and nitrates possibly, but because of the dilution of it, it is very unlikely.
One of the issues I've seen in the news recently is that prescription drugs are being disposed of by families by flushing them down the toilet. The concern in the state is that those drugs are going to leach through the aquifer, the filtration system of our earth, and end up in our drinking water, and that is causing some concern at both the state and federal levels. And I would like to see us possibly get a sample of that sludge tested to find out exactly what we have pressed, moved, and have set aside.
Well, we test always our ponds. That's ongoing. It goes to EPD.
Okay. My second question is, how did we authorize spending $58,000 for this removal without ever presenting it to the city council?
City manager took it on his own to find a less expensive way to do it. And I compared the work with the proposals. If there's a fault, there was not a bid ahead of time because we didn't know how many days it would take us to physically clean the pond.
But isn't there a $10,000 spending cap on the city manager and on the mayor?
Correct. That's why it's before council for approval.
So it's being approved after we've already done the work and committed ourselves to spending the money. Because it wouldn't be fair to the provider of the services to not pay the man. He did the job.
Well, I agree.
And I'm just saying that this should have come before the council to be discussed and voted on prior to rescinding all the bids and awarding a $58,000 contract. I would like to see it happen that way in the future.
If we have a hard bid, yes, sir.
I suggest that we have a hard bid.
Well, none of the proposals were a hard bid. They were all based on work and unit cost of the disposal. So they could not go down, they could only go up. I thought saving the city about $25,000 was worth taking a chance to do it this way.
I think it's worth taking a chance asking the city council to back that maneuver prior to taking it.
Sir?
With that, I'm done, sir. Yes, Mr. Mayor, and with that, considering Mitchell Septic Services did do the work and complete the work, I feel it necessary that they need to be paid.
Any
I
other?
move to approve the invoice. Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
I'm appreciative, Mr. Reshaver, for you saving the city about $25,000. I'm appreciative for that.
Yep, 25,000 is great. I agree.
I agree as well. It's just the way we did it.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of paying, Mr. Mitchell, signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, so ordered.
That was not Mr. Mitchell, sir, that's Mitchell's Septic Service. Just so
Yeah,
you know.
not this one.
Not the city attorney, Mr. Mitchell.
Next item of business, acknowledgement of receipt of $79,140.43 from Grantville Cemetery Trust Fund, and an approval to deposit the money in a restricted account designated for capital improvements to the Grantville Cemetery.
Mr. Mayor, as you know, and some of the other council members may know, the Cemetery Trust Fund was formed many years ago, and it is an irrevocable trust. But due to the death of certain members that were on the trust fund, there is only one surviving member. And as such, they felt it appropriate to take the funds from the trust and ask the city to use the funds in capital improvements to the Grantville Cemetery because they are limited in their ability to take action, and in fact, the Director of Public Works and Utilities maintains the cemetery on a monthly basis. So we, the city of Grantville, pay the operating cost of maintaining the cemetery, and they would like to see these remaining trust fund monies be spent only for capital improvements. And we would ask that you approve depositing the money in a restricted account designated for capital improvements to the Grantville Cemetery.
Okay, before asking for motion, Mr. Mitchell, do we need to create any kind of legal instrument to do these things? Or?
I'm not in a position to answer that question tonight, Your Honor, Mr. Mayor. I have not been asked to look at this or give an opinion on it, so I'm not able to answer that question tonight.
You got a recommendation to what to do with the money until we do get a legal?
I don't know if it's already been taken out of the account. If so, then I suppose you don't have any choice but to deposit it somewhere until such time as we can, I can review that if that's the will of the council. If the funds haven't been taken out, then I'd say let them stay there until we can do that and hopefully be prepared to address it at the next meeting. But I don't know what the current status of the funds is.
Funds are in a negotiable instrument, a check.
I don't know about the up to council, but I would rather make sure we're doing it the proper way before we move on it.
We don't have to deposit the check, we can just hold the check.
Hold it, but then,
I'll be prepared.
I would ask you to
Next
look
meeting.
into it.
Okay.
Okay. All right, then that brings us to the, where we move the discussion and decision on LaGrange Street. And, the original action was to rename the street itself. And, what we're proposing under the new business is discussion and decision on placing 2 signs on LaGrange Street, one at each end, indicating that this is Barbara Tucker Memorial Drive. So with that, what's the council's feelings on that?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that, after conversing with Mr. Reshaber, and he made this suggestion to me, it's a win-win situation. I make a motion that, we install 2 signs, one on each end, as you forestated, naming it Barbara Tucker Memorial Drive. LaGrange Street remains the same, and we honor Barbara Tucker as well.
Okay,
That's my motion.
I have a motion, do I have a second? Have a motion to place 2 signs, one at each end, just not renaming the street, just indicating it being Barbara Tucker Memorial Drive. Do I have a second?
I'll second it to get the discussion.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Do we have questions?
Yeah, at what point was the decision made to go through with a Memorial Drive prior to our last meeting?
She had with the city manager.
Who do you want to answer?
I mean, I get that's a feasible answer.
Okay.
Would you like to
Sure.
address that?
I am the one who suggested that rather than renaming the street, that we do sort of like Allen Jackson Highway or Peter Zackier Highway, that certain state troopers who lost their life in service to the state of Georgia, they have intersections named for them, that it would be an appropriate way to honor Barbara Tucker by just placing signs on each end of LaGrange Street, calling it Barbara Tucker Memorial Drive. Certainly you could call it Barbara Tucker Drive. I'm not enamored with either words, but that was my suggestion. And I talked to Councilmember Hines today, and we thought that would be appropriate.
Any further discussion or questions?
Well, I think prior to making a decision on it, I mean, I believe that the majority of the people that are here tonight wish to voice an opinion on the matter. And to be quite honest, I would rather hear and vote the will of the people that are on LaGrange Street than to make a decision.
I would like to say that when I discussed this, and I made 2 visits with Mr. Reshaber, when we discussed this, this is not going to affect anyone on LaGrange Street as far as interrupting your services or anything. It's a way of honoring a long-time citizen of this town who contributed greatly to it. and also a former, she was a Kiwanis member until she died. As we all know, if you go to Noonan, you will see Jackson Street and a sign as a memorial drive for another person side by side. This is not a sacrifice, this is an honor that we would bestow on a well-deserving citizen. I have spoken with 30 people on LaGrange Street personally, and I forestated that several times. A citizen sent me an email from Mr. Jim Sales, Facebook. And in this posting, I was accused, and I will read it, if you will allow me, Mr. Mayor. It says, Jim's Corner. Sarge and Councilwoman Hines are telling you bald-faced lies. 30 people on LaGrange Street did not request the name change. That's an absolute lie. When Councilwoman Hines tried this last year, I went to every house on LaGrange Street and only found 2 people that said they wanted that. The rest had told her they did not, or left with no answer because she wouldn't let up coercing them. I've never coerced anyone in my entire life that I can recall. In my hands are the 30 people that I spoke to on LaGrange Street. I wrote down what they said at the time we conversed. So I really did speak to 30 people on LaGrange Street when I was asking about the name change. Now, I'm not going to call Mr. Sales a bald-faced liar. I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to say to this statement to me, because I do feel that it is degrading. Deuteronomy 28:7 from the Tyndale Life Application Study Bible, New Living Translation states, the Lord will conquer your enemies when they attack you. They will attack you from one direction, but they will scatter from you in 7. Now, with that said, I will leave the bald-faced lies statement from Mr. Sales in the hand of Almighty God. I don't know what my colleagues are going to do tonight about honoring this woman of God who's going on. But that's my stance. I have met with the manager. I've discussed it with our mayor. And I do believe that the manager gave us a win-win situation to this honoring. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Honey. Anybody else got anything to add?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, at this time I would move that we amend our agenda because we are no longer discussing renaming LaGrange Street, but we are discussing installing a Memorial Drive signage to honor Mrs. Tucker. And I believe that may be in order because we are not discussing changing the name of the street anymore.
I think
I'm not able to hear it all back here. I cannot hear a thing y'all saying. I'd like to hear this discussion. I've never had anyone come to my house, not even a phone call
Eddie,
about
have a
this.
seat right now. Y'all's turn will come.
Huh?
Your turn will get me up there. You got
What I'm saying, we can't hear a thing y'all saying. I can't. So, we don't know what's going on.
I seen. Turn the volume up if we can, so they can hear it. But anyway, like I said, we did amend this thing to discussion
There's the volumes, Chris.
I'm right here, buddy.
and
No.
We amended this to rename LaGrange Street.
yeah.
And we're not talking about that here right now. We've already said that Mr. Griswold came up with a very good idea. And that idea was to, rather than rename LaGrange Street, which is what is on our agenda, that we install 2 Memorial Drive signage, one on each end of the street. Those are 2 totally different issues, I would think. I'd be in favor of putting up the Barbara Tucker Memorial Drive signs.
Okay, when we finish with all discussion, I will call for that motion, because we do have a motion and a second to that effect. You have anything? You have any more? Okay. Hearing no further question, all in favor of putting 2 signs, one at each end of LaGrange Street, indicating that it's, where we at here? Barbara Tucker Memorial Drive, signify by aye.
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 Opposed? Anybody opposed? Ayes have it, so ordered. Okay. Next order of business, have we got all the citizens? Alrighty, we got any more that wants to turn in form to speak? Okay. First one will be Mr. Mallory.
Rodney Mallory, 82 Grange Street, Grantville. Door-to-door salesman, do they have to have a permit to come to your house to sell a product? Saturday, salesman was dropped off at the street, and the manager left in his vehicle, and he came back later to pick him up after they called to come pick him up. So, I didn't want this product they was trying to sell, and it was hard to get rid of him. And then after I was told him I didn't want it, he impressed me he needed to sell 2 more to win a trip. And I'm not buying a project or to sponsor him for a trip. So the question is, do they have to have a permit to sell products in Grantville?
I don't have that answer tonight, but I will get it, and get with you on it.
Okay. Then after he got finished with his sales pitch, then I had to feed him lunch. He was hungry. Had 1 or 2 sandwiches.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mallory, appreciate it. Next speaker, Mr. Tim Dean.
My comments were just about renaming LaGrange Street, and I have no comment now at this point, since that point is not moved. If we're going to retain the name of LaGrange Street as it is now, just add the Barbara Tucker signs to it.
Well, I just want to give you the opportunity, because you did sign up.
Yes, sir. I understand that. My concern was some of the ramifications of changing that name. And as I understand it now, the council has opted not to change the name of LaGrange Street, but to dedicate LaGrange Street to the memory of Barbara Tucker, correct?
Pretty much.
Okay.
Thank you. Next speaker, Mr. Jim Sells.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. First, let me say congratulations, Mr. King, winning your seat, justifiably. And also the fact that you did speak up about this blatant abuse of the charter. A blank check for $50-something thousand without the consent of the council. This blatantly abusive thing to do. I appreciate that, and I look forward to you helping getting the financial house in order along with the rest of the council. And I congratulate you on your win.
Thank you, sir.
Well, I would have said the same thing that Mr. Tim said, but let me explain myself on this investigation. Previous investigation, Ms. Hines felt the need to go ahead and read the email and go through it, even though the issue was dead because the council won't support it. This came up last fall. The council put it to rest last fall. But what I did, because she said 30 people, and excuse me if I'm a couple numbers off, she said 30 people wanted it and 2 didn't. I went to LaGrange Street myself, and I turned in to every member of the council names, addresses, and whether or not they wanted it. I found, and I gave Mr. Tucker a yes on that because I felt it would be disrespectful to even ask. I only found one other person that said, yes, change the name. And I found 30 that said, no, do not change the name of LaGrange Street. And let me tell you the biggest part of this. I own 12 to 14 houses on LaGrange Street, and you didn't give me the courtesy of asking me. I felt this was a personal idea of yours that didn't represent the citizens of this community. You wanted to do it personally, and I took offense to the way it did. I offended you, and I apologize for that. But I saw this as an unintentional desire of the citizens of this community and a great harm, as possibly the council did too. I appreciate the council putting it to rest, and I thank you for your time.
May I say something?
No, you can't in your comment. Billy Hand.
Mayor, Council. I was in opposition to changing the name to LaGrange Street to Barbara Tucker, but as it stands now with the memorial signs, then I no longer have any comments about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Selma Cody.
I don't want to blast you all out of the room. My name is Selma Cody, 214 West Grantville Road. My comments have to do with the oxidation pond, and I have a couple of questions and I'll comment. First of all, did we get a fine from the EPD?
No, ma'am, we did not.
I don't, it's not a question and answer here. This is their time to speak.
I think I deserve an answer because this affects the bottom line of this town.
And then I would suggest that you contact him tomorrow.
The people in this town need to know what's going on with this thing. And then the other question is, I'll ask it, you can choose to not answer it if you wish, but these oxidation ponds are supposed to be inspected on a regular basis. Why was this pond allowed to overflow, and why was it not caught during an inspection? Who's head of this committee? Who's head of this Public Works Committee? You are.
I was never notified.
I think that would be something that you need to look into, Mr. Gomez.
I was never notified about that either.
I'm sorry?
I was never notified about that either, what had happened with that. So that was news to me as well. You know what I'm saying? So.
Can you come back with an answer about inspections at the next meeting? I would appreciate that.
Yes, ma'am.
The other thing, I thought it was my comment is this, I thought it was very interesting what the CM had to say about the products that are going into that land application system, that they are, it consists of residential waste. So what does that say? That says that right now we are not set up to accommodate industry. And we want to grow. So I think this council needs to look at how we are handling the waste for this city, long-term. Thank you.
Mr. Document.
Hi, Ross Doctorman, 379 Bohannon Road. At the last election, there was no road to extend you guys' term from 4 to 5 years. We spoke. We elect you guys. There was no vote on that subject. How come it wasn't on the agenda? Grandma Branch Road right now is getting a new water line. In the meantime, Bohannon Road is leaking all over the place. We had one up by the gun range and one across the street today, across from Miss Berry's house. So congratulations on getting a new water line, but you gotta go through Bohannon Road to get your water. As far as Mr. Selt's building, I was in the hospital, but I heard stories. And the upshot of it was that this young lady over there got reprimanded for issuing a permit. We have a city manager, we have a mayor who's supposed to be familiar with historic buildings. Where the hell were you guys? You nailed her. Congratulations.
Thank you, Doc. Sandra Latrell.
Sandra Latrell, 276 LaGrange Street. I was hoping that I wouldn't have to come before the council again concerning this issue, and that is, I was down for renaming opposing the renaming of LaGrange Street. Now it's changed to having 2 signs. And again, I will say, Barbara Tucker was a friend of mine. I miss her very much. I believe there was other ways better to honor this wonderful person than to make an issue and keep bringing it up over and over of renaming, and for someone to get their way to having signs now putting up. Thank goodness that LaGrange Street will not change its name, where it will not be an inconvenience in a stressful time for the citizens. But is there going to be a confusion with signs at each of the end of LaGrange Street of it's saying Barbara Tucker Boulevard? Is there going to be a confusion there with LaGrange Street? Which is it? To others and our towners, they're not going to understand. To me, they wouldn't. This, to me, was a personal agenda. Council, when we elect you, and Mayor, we do not elect you to have your own personal agendas brought forth and pushed down the citizens' throats, and that is the way I feel. How does this benefit the citizens? How does this benefit the city? That is what you're elected for. And I had a person that's on this council, at the time they got elected, among me and others, if I ever step over a line of being in council, throwing my weight, let me know. You stepped over that line. And I'm very disappointed. This is not for personal agendas. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, city councilman comments, Mr. Gomez?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Thank you so much for showing up this evening. It's great to see everyone participating on your concerns and issues, and it's important that you keep showing up and stating your opinion and how you feel, because that's what it's about. We need to hear what you have to say, and we need to understand that what you're saying is important to you and everyone living in this city. Because that's our duty, and we have to take care of those issues that come arise that you tell us and stuff, because hey, we're here for you, not for ourselves. If I ever seem like I took something personal, anything like that, I do apologize, because that's not what I'm here for. It's about you, not me. It's about serving the city, the citizens, and being an ambassador wherever I go, that I will represent the city to the fullest of my duties, my responsibilities as an elected official. Whether I will never cross a line or anything like that, and if I have done that, well, I duly apologize if I didn't mean to do that. If I had ever put someone down or degraded someone, that's not what I'm about. Because I believe in respecting everyone, no matter what, whether they like me or not. That's not what it's about. It's about us going forward and building the city as one, and living in harmony and love and stuff, because this world's got enough bad things going on across the world, so we need to get along and love each other and take care of each other and work together to make the city what it should be and what it needs to be. And also I want to congratulate the new elected officials that were elected, and I do wish them the best endeavors in the future. And if ever they want to reach out to me, they're welcome to reach out to me for anything, any kind of resources or connections or anything like that. Because during my time here, I have made some wonderful relationships and great connections, and build a networking of friendship with elected officials across the, not state, but across the country as well. So definitely I will hope to use those in the future to help the city grow as well down the road somehow, some way. That when my term ends, that I will continue forward, running for office in the future, wherever I go and stuff like that, right? So, but anyway, definitely congratulations, and I think you're in good hands with the two new elected officials you have here in the city, because we do trust them that they're going to do the best to keep us safe by day and by night, and keep everybody happy. So thank you for showing up, and definitely we'll get to those issues that were addressed this evening. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Gomez. Mr. King?
Well, I too thank you all for coming tonight. I'll address the hot topic in a moment, but I'd like to say being appointed to this seat was an honor bestowed upon me by fellow council members, and I thank them for their confidence in me. I would also like to thank the people who voted to have me remain in the post 3 seat. Being elected is a sometimes difficult though. But this shows that the majority of the voters who took the time to vote approved of what I'm trying to do, approved of what I'm standing for. Being on the council in service to our city can be a double-edged sword. On one hand, you have to have conscious understanding of the needs of the city, and at the same time, you have to take into consideration and be responsible to the citizens of the city. On renaming of LaGrange Street, that did not happen tonight. I believe that a compromise was reached between the council person proposing the name change and the city. I believe it was a good compromise. LaGrange Street will remain LaGrange Street. No one has to change anything. At the same time, in some way, we show a small token.
Section 1.04, particularly paragraph H, which reads, "The corporate powers of the city to be exercised by the mayor and council shall include the following," and paragraph H says, "to regulate the rates and services of public utilities insofar as not in conflict with such regulations by the Public Service Commission or other similar state or federal agencies having jurisdiction in such matters. And the question was raised by one of the council members as to whether or not the fact that the city has certain policies relating to its utilities that are not consistent with the policies of the PSC, Public Service Commission, whether or not that failure to be in compliance with or track with those PSC regulations places the city in violation of that section of the charter. And my position is absolutely not, as I have advised the council previously on this similar issue. The city is not subject to regulation by the PSC. My opinion backed up here by the opinion of the Georgia Department of Law or the Georgia Attorney General's office. I draw your attention to the middle of this handout. It says, in general, the Public Service Commission, Georgia Public Service Commission regulates public companies offering electric, natural gas, or telecommunication services in Georgia. However, be aware that their jurisdiction does not extend to electric membership cooperatives, EMCs, or city-owned gas or electric companies. So the PSC does not have jurisdiction over the city or its utilities. And since this section of the charter makes specific reference to agencies having jurisdiction in such matters, then the fact that your policies may not all track with PSC policies relating to your utilities does not violate that charter provision. Now, certainly the city, because you are not subject to PSC regulation, it means that the council has the freedom to set its policies and regulations as it sees fit. And certainly if you chose to revise your policies to be consistent with PSC policy, you can do that. Or you can choose not to. That decision and that choice is left to this council based on the best interest of the city and the best interest of your customers and consumers, rather than having some policy forced upon you by the PSC. So you absolutely are not in violation of the charter by having regulations relating to your utilities that are not consistent with PSC regulations. But certainly if you choose to amend those policies to come into consistency with the PSC, that's certainly your right and ability. And that's all I have, Mr. Mayor, unless there are any questions about that.
No, I don't, anybody got any questions? My purpose in asking for clarification was that there was some accusations made out there that we were in violation, and I wanted to be sure that we were not. I didn't think we were, and but now I think it's pretty well official.
Let me address one other thing. I think that going back to something that was mentioned earlier relating to the issue that was on the ballot for the charter amendment to change the city's election terms to come into compliance with state law. I think I had seen somewhere that there was some recommendation or suggestion that the city could simply, on the next mayoral election, extend that to a 5-year term. That is not possible. The charter establishes that terms are 4 years, and the only way that that term could be extended for 5 years would require a charter amendment and go through the process that we attempted to go through here to bring us in line with state law. So if people are considering that to be an option for addressing that at some point in the future, that would not be an option.
Okay. Thank you. Nothing else come before the council? We have any executive session we need to do?
Yes, sir.
Anybody else got anything they want to go back and talk about? Okay. Hearing nothing, adjournment's in order.